All right, so we are live right now and ready to go. All right, first we have DarinDrise with Hugh, Warpless 80%.
All right, thank you, sir. Welcome to the Midwest SpeedSprinter, everybody. This is the opening run, and so we'll be going live with the run in a little bit here. The first couple minutes, there's a lot of story, and I'll try not to talk over the story because with a slight alteration of the run itself, it'll add about 2 seconds, but you'll be able to see all of the story in about an hour compared to about a normal 4 to 5 hour run, sometimes a little bit longer. So, yeah, time will start as soon as I hit yes here on the restart new game. So whenever you're ready.
All right, 5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
Alrighty.
Hey.
So the first letter here is from your mom. I'll let Amy Acton take it
Dearest
away.
Hugh. Oh, I've had the most dreadful luck. I feel terrible that you've been left alone all this time. The traitorous Dr. Gray tried to steal the annular spectrum, a ring I developed to allow perception and alteration of colour. Some call them impossible colours. Impossible for Dr. Gray, maybe. Anyway, something went wrong. I turned a strange shade and became invisible. The ring, it fractured, scattering coloured shards far and wide. I stayed at home for many weeks, watching, waiting, existing on this coloured plane. I couldn't speak to you, nor interact with anything in the mono world. So I left. I left for the university where I hid away the coloured tools I had created. I pray you have found what is left of the ring.
Alright, so that's how the story is told. Amy Acton is the name of the voice actor who does the mother's voice throughout the game. One of the amazing things about Hugh, and there'll be another letter soon, but one of the amazing things is just the sound design throughout the game. The voice acting is really smooth. The sound is, I've been told it's like an ASMR speed run, and also that I've put people to sleep before.
Since the beginning, we have pointed to the sky and declared it blue. It is this shared vision, this unquestioned understanding which connects us. But are you really seeing blue the same way I see it? Perhaps blue is nothing more than a shade of grey to you. Perhaps everyone in this world sees nothing but shades of grey. Don't you see, Hugh? This is why we're here.
So this is the Warpless any percent. The first difference between any percent is right here. It's actually quicker to pause and restart the level than it is to wait for this miner guy to walk away. Saves about 10 seconds to restart the level versus watching him walk away there.
When you enter a cave expecting a waterfall, the chances are your expectations will be met. But if you discard those expectations, don't you think instead the cave will be full of surprises? I ask for you, Hugh, to abandon your expectations, to pull me back from the brink of unreality. I need you to see the world not for what it is, but for what it can be.
Alright, so and then that's the end of the story being coming so quickly. So I'll be able to actually explain a little bit more of it. And as you can see, when you switch to colors, it makes anything of that color disappear. So that's one of the main mechanics in this game. We'll get a full color wheel eventually. Right now we just have light blue. And then, so each level, the blocks and that sort of stuff, you'll have to make them disappear to get them to move past each other. And you'll see it as we go along. But at this point, we know all of the controls that we will need for the entire game. So it's really missed it. It's really just jumping, pulling blocks, changing colors, and this skip here, and I'll try it one more time. You use what's called a rounding jump to get on top of the boulder. As you saw earlier, if you get it wrong or normally get hit by a boulder, it will kill you. But if you can hit it at just the right point, then you can get on top of the boulder and get across there quicker. That last room, you need the boulder to hit the ground just once, and then if you jump into it and you're above about the halfway point, you can stop its momentum and get on top of it. If you miss that one, there's about 3 or 4 levels that you have to run away from the boulder down. And so it saves probably a good 30 seconds in that room to be able to stop the boulder. There used to be a slightly slower way of doing it that's a little bit easier, which is to do another rounding jump, like on the level before. But we found out that you could just stop the boulder and save some time. So that's our first color screen, where we got our second color.
Hugh, that purple is at the very end of the visible spectrum. It's the hardest color for our eyes to distinguish. Now, imagine a shade one step further than purple, a color beyond what we can actually perceive. We call these impossible colors. And I fear that this is where I currently reside. If reality is rooted in our perception, and you cannot perceive me, do I even exist to you? I'm sure that I do. I mean, you're reading this letter, or at least I hope you are. I'm sorry, but existing in this strange state of impermanence does funny things to you, Hugh. It makes you question what is real.
So then here you could just see jump pushes, which if you have a block, it's quicker to be able to jump and push it as long as you're not going to jump over the top of the block, because you move faster while you're in the air than you do when you're on the ground pushing the block. So that is the second section of the game. As you can see, it's starting to have some interplay between the colors. Definitely adds a lot of depth. Once you get 3 or 4 colors, eventually you'll have 8 colors. And so there's a lot of different things they can do in order to make interesting puzzles, and it'll add mechanics as you go throughout the game. So every time you get a color in a room like this, you want to change to one of the older colors, because the door is always the color that you just picked up, so you can't see the door and you can't go through it if it's the color of
The university gardens were bathed in an earthy orange light when I first met Dr. Gray. Summer had come and gone, and a cold autumnal crispness had caught me off guard. I sat on the grass, surrounded by my books and papers, when a cool breeze threatened to blow my notes across the lawn. A page escaped my reach and took flight. A man not much older than myself chased after it, catching it on his 3rd or 4th attempt. I remember his gentle smile when he returned it. He started talking, and I was surprised that he had read my work in the university journal. He said he was a professor and that he hoped we could work together someday. It's funny, Hugh, how something so small can change so much. Dr. Gray soon became my assigned mentor, and I can't help but feel he somehow had a hand in it. Our fires burnt brightest when we worked together. It felt like we could achieve anything. We discovered more about color than I could ever have imagined. We split light, mapped spectrums, we painted, we laughed. We worked long hours, and soon our goal became all-consuming. We were vessels. The work became more important than us, and we knew it.
So this room is one of the first ones where you'll really see play between multiple colors. And there's quite a bit, it's a lot of backtracking throughout this room as you have to do the multiple levels. It kind of shows off a little bit of what you see throughout the rest of the run. And then here, as you go, it adds little puzzles, like there's, the taller blocks, other things like that. This room is one of the runs where I typically have the most trouble, just because it's odd as you're, starting to go through and remembering which color to switch. It should be a lot easier than what it is, but for some reason it's confusing. And here, it's really scary the first time you do it, with the boulders falling, and if you hit the wrong color, you're gonna die to the spikes. This is one of the first rooms where you would use a death warp in the any percent run, which is, it works that if you are going through a door, or going back through the beginning door, and you get killed, then the game gets confused, and you can skip to the ending door of that room. So you would have just skipped the entire room, and at the cost of about a 7-second death animation versus what it takes to do the entire room. So it can save quite a bit of time in several of the rooms throughout the run. One of the things that's really nice about you is a lot of the things in the background have little interactions. So like these skeletons will say things to you. They each say, I think, 3 things. And they're all just little jokes, about being a skeleton. Like, I don't have a stomach for it. So. And if you'll notice that if I hit chains, there'll be little clicking noises as you hit the chains. Sometimes they'll slow you down just a little bit. That jump you can make, you have to be right at the end to make that jump. So I jumped just a little bit too quick. There we go. So, and one of the things that you can use if you get panicked at any point while you're playing through it is you can slow down time by holding the color wheel. Typically, in a speed run, you want to go as quick as you can and try to change your colors and be concise. But it can be helpful, and there'll probably be a time where I'll need to use it to slow down the clock and slow down your movement as you're going. You aren't able to change direction while you're in the color wheel, but you are just, helps to hit a few triggers, and sometimes if you aren't sure about the color that you're trying to go to, it can give you a second to breathe and to think for a little bit.
It's funny. I don't remember much after that day on the grass. I do know that Dr. Gray and I spent many a time together. I would compliment him on his work, and his cheeks would flush with a pinkness. He'd notice and change the subject, embarrassed. This work we were doing together, it didn't feel much like work anymore.
So one of the biggest time saves is something simple, and it's something that a lot of people find while they're casually playing through it, but it's with the ladders there. Climbing up and down ladders is really slow. So if you jump, either going up or going down, you save a lot of time. Jumping down, you just basically let go and you can fall down the ladder. There is new skips that have been found. This room is one of the ones where you can do a wall jump, which there's slight pixels that stick out on the walls that you can just get caught on. And if you do it just right, you can stop on the wall and then jump off from the pixels on the wall. I haven't had the time to learn them yet, but there's some rooms where they can save you a lot of time. But if you don't get it, you can spend more time trying to get the wall jump than what you end up spending if you actually did the room as you normally would, so. There are a lot of points where there's spikes on the ceiling, so even though it's faster to jump a lot of times, you definitely don't want to do it because death animations are costly. It's about 7 seconds per death animation, plus whatever time you've already spent in that room. So if it's a 30-second room, you've now lost 37 seconds. I don't know what I hit there. So, as you can see, that is just what I was talking about. So, but as you can see here, it's a lot quicker to move the blocks while you're jumping than it is to just push them as you're along the ground. If you're inside of something, like a block there, you can't change colors at all. So you need to be outside of it in order to get it to work. This room has one of the biggest skips. Typically you would go and get the orange block in the top right, but it takes a long time to do that, and if you drop down here, and there's the 6 dots on the left side, that's what I need to use as my trigger. So I'm going to be all the way to the left, and then just as they get here, I turn back, and I can do that. You can do it full speed. It's all a timing trick at that point, and it's a lot less consistent. On a good day, I can get it about 1 out of 3 times at full speed, but ever since I've figured out where you need the dots to be, it's about a 90% success rate by slowing it down. So, especially for a marathon, it's worth taking your time. But as you can tell, the music for about the first half of the game, if not a little bit more, is just really relaxed, which I find great for a speedrun, because even though you're, possibly nervous, the music just helps you to calm down. The one thing that's odd is my wife likes to listen to the music when she goes to sleep, so if I spend about 2 or 3 hours practicing the game and then go to bed and I can hear it through her headphones, I am never sure if it's just my mind playing tricks on me, or or else if it's actually the music from her headphones, which is a little disconcerting when you're trying to go to sleep, but it's a testament to just how relaxing and how, great the score is. So this room, there's nothing special for skips. This is the quickest way to go through it, if I remember to jump. So it's just a matter of, and a lot of the rooms, it's really a matter of memorizing the puzzles, memorizing the colors you need to switch to, and then executing it correctly and doing it as quick as possible. And then remembering which way to go when you get into rooms like this. Typically you end the room going the direction you'll start the next room in, but that's not always the case. For some reason, this room, I always want to go to the right, and then you lose about a second because you walked the wrong way and you feel like a fool. But here we'll get our 5th color? 5th color, I think. So the first part of it, you're just collecting the colors, and then everything will be put together once you get to the university, and in your quest to find your mom and to put together the colors. So we'll have another story section right here.
Did you know, Hugh, that every language first has a word for black and for white, for dark and for light? The first colour described afterwards is always red. The colour of blood and wine. The colour of anger. The anger I felt when I was told my experiments had gone too far. When Dr. Gray sided with the university, stopping my research altogether. For all our languages, for all our ways to communicate. It's funny how sometimes we simply cannot. It leads people to do things they regret. To steal, to break, to forget what is important.
A lot of people get confused in this cave area when they're playing through it the first time. And really, you just have to look for the thing that's blocking your path in the color you just got and follow that pathway.
Once a seed has taken root, it doesn't take long for it to grow, to nurture and blossom into something beautiful. The seed of knowledge was planted in my mind, and I wasn't prepared to let it wilt and die. The university claimed my experiments were unethical, that altering the fabric of our reality was dangerous. They were unflinching. My research was confiscated and my contract terminated. Following my expulsion, I was left with no choice but to uproot and move us both far away. I knew of a small fishing village a boat ride from the university, where I hoped my reputation wouldn't precede me. You and I moved into a humble home, which is now where you've spent most of your childhood.
As I go through with steps like that, you'll see me jumping. I don't know that it makes you any faster necessarily. It's really just something to do. But there are certain points where you can get caught on some of the pixels at the top of the stairs. So in those cases, it can save you just a tiny bit of time because you don't like slow down when you hit those pixels at the top of the stairs. So here it's introducing you to the switches, which will be used throughout to open doors, like that. So in this room you see just how moving objects can interact with the switches. Oh. That one, typically you can get through that first opening without any problem. Sometimes like that you get stuck just on it, but that wasn't a big loss because I was able to just run right through the rest of them. And then here you want to use this orange block to cover up the spikes to the right there so you can get the key. There are times when that would be the normal solve for a room, but you can get around it, but in this room with the spikes above you, there's no way that you can jump up to get that key. This room we had been doing differently, but it was just pointed out, and we'll use this a couple times throughout the run, that you can, whenever you make something disappear, so this block will come down, and I can make it disappear, and the thwomp will go back up and through it, so that saves about 3 seconds. Otherwise there's a block off to the right, which would normally be used, and then you drop it down in the middle, and then you have to push it over, and it just takes a little bit more time. So as long as you get it lined up, you can save some time there. Here you're learning that you can use blocks to trigger the thwomps, which will be useful, especially in the last room. You need to use that mechanic. This one, typically you jump back and forth a little bit quicker just to trigger them and jump over and do a rounding jump to get on top. Now the rounding jump gets you just a little bit higher because you can't necessarily get the full jump height before you would run into an obstacle. So you need to run away from it just a little bit and then turn around and go back towards whatever you're trying to jump on top of. So there's several objects, like there'll be a globe towards the end that you have to jump over, and it's just too high to jump over with a normal jump. The rounding jump at the right point to make it over there. Here we'll use the making the block disappear again, like that, and it saves you from having to pull it all the way through and drop it down through the orange swamp and then the purple swamp, and so it saves quite a bit of time, and it makes the room, once you learn how to do it, it makes it a little bit easier, as long as you get your timings correct, and don't drop the block on your head, because that makes you feel sad.
Oh, that's good. I was stuck in that room. Now I know how to get through it.
So there's some elements of timing throughout the game. There's a lot of it is just like working out the puzzles. I think sometimes the timing elements can be the toughest. The normal controls, if you have a controller, uses the A for an Xbox or X for a PlayStation to jump.
The ancient scriptures of civilizations
And I'll get
lost.
to that in a second.
I spent hours poring over them, searching for clues to support my research. Aside from their wonders, one thing stood out above all else. Blue, or specifically the absence of it. Other colours were detailed at length, but not blue. It was never mentioned at all. The word simply didn't exist. Could they not distinguish blue? Without a word to describe it, how could we be sure they could see it at all?
So typically you would use the bottom button, so A or X depending on your type of controller, to jump, and then the right control stick in order to change colors. But the I like to use the trigger buttons with my fingers because it lets me not have to try and move my thumbs quite as quickly between the buttons, and there's a couple of quick color change jumps, especially coming up, that are a lot harder to execute. Unfortunately, it is available on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, but from what I've seen, you can't remap the controls on those games. You know, only on the PC, from as far as I know. So that makes it a little bit harder in those versions, but it's still doable. You just have to learn the timing, and it takes a little bit longer. This room is one of the toughest, especially if you're trying to go quickly, because of this section. Really, you just have to be on the block and jumping as you're changing the color, but I can't tell you how many times I've died in that room and how many runs it has killed. Because it is a longer room, and it's not until the second half where it starts to get tougher, so you can lose a lot of time in that room, especially if you start to get frustrated. You can definitely lose a lot of time. Here we take advantage of the platform being just far enough out that you can jump over and grab the key there. Typically you would get the light blue block to the left that you can move, and you'd have to pull it over. But we don't have time for that, and you are just able to jump over and back in enough time, so you might as well. Once you learn this room, it's not as scary as it looks, because you just know where the blocks will be. So you just have to trust that the blocks are right in the middle of the sections, and you want to get rid of the balloons as quick as you can to keep them towards the bottom so you can get through it the fastest. This one is probably the scariest room casually. It's a typical platforming room, but you have it's one of the few with really time constraints, because there's nowhere that you get away from the clumps, so you always have to keep moving. And it's about a 4 45 to 50 second room, so if you die right at the end, it's pretty costly. Speedrun. You'll see each time I switch to light blue, going into the next section, because the first block is always light blue, so it saves one color switch, it saves a little bit of time and a little bit less thinking when you have something directly above your head that wants to kill you.
Let me know when it might be a good time for a donation.
After this letter's probably pretty good. So it'll be just a second there. Thank you very much. And it is, donations go towards Carbon Fund, is that correct?
Yep,
Okay.
they're going to Carbon Fund. And we got a $35 donation from the original Xbox, just with a comment of heart. Thank you, the original Xbox.
Thank you very much.
Spring was around the corner. Yellow daffodils poked through the dirt in our backyard. As time moved, my resentment slowly slipped away. I continued my research from home. Without Dr. Gray, work was slow, but I still made progress. One day, Hugh, when you were sleeping, I watched over you. I was on the cusp of a breakthrough, and you were the last person left to see it. I was so excited for the both of us.
Alright, so now we have almost all of the colors. This is one of the longest ladders in the game, so it's really a satisfying jump to just go down and be able to skip all of that. And now we learn about lasers.
My research led me to tales of a long-lost civilization. They built great machines, pioneering electricity many years before we discovered it. Strangely,
Do we have time for another
this
donation?
civilization
After they're done with the letter,
felt no
we'll have
pain.
time.
They knew of pain and observed it, yet could not experience it themselves. Explaining to them the sensation of pain is like me explaining colour to someone that can only see in black and white. I wonder, Hugh, if we will be able to share in our experiences of colour.
Okay, now's a good time.
We have 2 more $25 donations from the original Xbox.
Thank you, the original Xbox. That is very much appreciated. That room I want to jump before I change colors, but sometimes you forget to push buttons. There we go, that's how you do it. And then here, typically you'd go to that block in the middle, but you don't need to because you can just jump through the laser when you switch to blue like that. This is the first room with a laser skip, which will save a lot of time. I'll explain it after I do it.
Ooh. Nice.
It's all a timing trick. There's no great way to explain, how to do it other than you just have to work out the timing. But basically, you're jumping, changing to whatever color the laser is, and then as soon as you see it not hitting you in the head anymore, you want to change to another color so that the platform underneath you will reappear. Because typically the lasers are the same color as the platform beneath you in order to make it so you can't just, switch colors and go right through the laser. We will use that several times throughout. One of the hardest rooms in the game has a double laser skip, so it's 2 in a row. Some people can execute both of them all in one go. I'll be doing it where I stop between them, and I'll try it a few times if I can't get it right away. But like I say, it's all a matter of timing and just being able to get it down. So sometimes it's a lot harder than others. This room, you would typically ride the platforms up and down, but you don't really need to. So here, this room and the room before it are both called Laser Madness. Probably because a lot of people get very angry at these rooms because you die to lasers quite a bit. There is a skip in that first part where you can. There's periods where all 3 of those lasers disappear at the same time, and if you have the timing correct, you can just jump through. It is one of the harder skips to perform, at least to get the timing down, but it can save quite a bit of time if you do it. So, and then this room, it's a matter of timing. A lot of people panic in there because you're constantly moving and you know that the lasers will kill you, so it's a little bit scary.
The music's not as relaxing anymore either.
Yes, as you get towards the end of the lasers, the music starts to ramp up, which also I think that doesn't help because it's lulled you kind of to sleep up until this point, and now all of a sudden the music gets intense. You have things moving and lasers, and you know that pretty much anything is out there to kill you. So there it's showing off the laser switches. So as you see, once the laser goes all the way through and completes kind of the white circuit on the left, then it opens up that doorway. So you just have to manipulate colors in order to close the correct switches. So like here, you just have to switch back and forth. And then this room, it's running away from swamps, and then you switch to the color of the floor to get down to those platforms underneath. And then you have to be patient so you don't jump back up into the laser in the eye socket of the swamp. Here you can switch to orange, and that laser off to the right side just won't affect you. And now you just wait, and that's the room there. So, and this is our final color. So at this point, we have all 8 colors, and we're able to go to the university. Well, we're able to open up the university because first we have to go to the lighthouse, turn the light back on, because no one could get down to the switch to turn the lighthouse on because there was a green block in the way. Which seems like poor planning, because when you're a fishing village and you can't turn on your lighthouse, it's just not a good situation, especially in a gray world. At this point, you would, in the any percent run, you would use, there's a map feature, or a map function in the menu, and you can skip these 4 rooms coming up.
I could see a coloured image of the sun. Aqua, purple, orange, pink, red, blue, yellow and green. Great fireworks played out across the backdrop to my reality. Was I dreaming? Was I alive? My senses dulled from a lifetime of monotone, struggled with the revelation. Time eased. Colours danced in slow motion, like Pollock painting a ballet on the moon. I removed the ring, and time slipped back to normal. Colour dissolved into grey. It was overwhelming. But what followed affected me the most. After seeing in colour for the first time, when everything...
That makes a cool noise.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
After seeing in colour for the first time, when everything returned to normal.
I was just wondering.
This is, I
Why
forgot
you
to
don't
turn
have-
on the colorblind mode. This is why I like to use the colorblind mode. Sometimes the pink and purple didn't turn it on. I'll get it in a second. Sometimes the pink and purple kind of run together. And so a lot of runners don't use the colorblind mode. I'll turn it on here. Colorblind. Let's go down to apply.
There we go.
So now it has little symbols to denote which color it is. And you can see on the color wheel, it shows those symbols as well. Makes it just one more cue for me as you're trying to go quickly, and possibly panicking that you can match up the symbols. but it also makes a game about color accessible to someone who is colorblind and may not be able to see the difference between those colors, which I think is a really cool feature to add. I mean, it makes the game a lot more accessible. There we go. Not sure why the words got stuck on the bottom there. I guess I've never gone to the menu while a letter was being read. But at some point, hopefully that'll disappear. Otherwise, it's just a little extra difficulty for the marathon, which is, always appreciated. This room is one of the ones where you have to be the most patient, which can be very difficult in a speedrun. As you can see, the switch turns off the platform and the lasers. So you have to use the platform in order to get up to the key and up to this door as well. So you just have to be patient and wait for it to come back to you here.
See, this is what I love about the speedrunning community, though. I mean, you see something like that where you never noticed you could get the words to freeze on the screen. In about 12 hours, they're going to find a way to exploit that into a 30-second time save.
That would be great. Zan, you should be on that. Zan is the world record holder who figured out how to make the wall skips a useful thing, and with that and several other tweaks, saved probably 2 or 3 minutes on the old world record, which has been standing for quite a while. So
He's also the world record holder for The Witness.
yes,
Which goes to show, I mean, speedrunning is it's a whole mentality. It's not just mastering a game, it's changing the way you think of games.
yeah, definitely. And it's great. The community for Hue is wonderful. There's people spread throughout the world, several in Europe, several in the United States. This is the one major change from the actual Warpless run, is to get this letter, because you
The
save
more I
about 10
experienced,
seconds by
the
not
more
going
I
through that
realized
room
how
where it's at.
little I was experiencing. Seeing the world in true color was not true at
By
all.
grabbing it, you got rid of
The
the other words.
goalposts had just been moved a little further
Yes.
down an infinite playing field. These shades, they are a paradigm away from what I could ever imagine. And yet, how much more there must be? Is there ever such a thing as true reality, Hugh? Does truth exist in our minds the same way that color does? Maybe next I'll stumble upon a third dimension. Could you imagine?
Which, it makes me sad that we always skip that one, because that stumbling upon the third dimension and the little chuckle, for some reason, just is one of my favorite lines throughout the entire dialogue, but typically you don't hear it. So now that we turned on the lighthouse, the fisherman's able to come in, and because we're friends with the fishermen in the fisher village, they're willing to take us to the university, I guess. I'm not sure how that works, but then this guy tells you that the gondola going up to the university is broken, which is a slight understatement, as you'll see in a little bit here. I do realize that I forgot to introduce the people behind me on the couch. So if you guys want to introduce yourself, please do so. There's a gondola. It's slightly broken.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, it's like the
Actually-
gondola from Celeste.
Right. We have a letter here, so
If a
after the
tree
letter, if you guys
stands
want to
in the
introduce
woods
yourself, that would be
and
great.
nobody's there to
Because
see it.
I am a poor host and
Does
forgot
that
to
tree
introduce you.
exist? Does it have color and form? Does it matter? This journey has been difficult, Hugh. And whilst I have trodden a lost, winding path, I feel no closer to the truth I was after. No matter how long you chase the moon. If truth does exist in our minds, then I feel there may be one that I have neglected. All this time, you've been alone, and now uprooted, on a journey for my cause. For what? So that I could see the world a little clearer? I do hope, in the end, it was worth it. For both of us.
Alright, so if you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves, that would be great.
Hello, I am Dragonflight Demon. I am Darin's wife. So I have been slightly dragged along
I'm Puck Java. Speaking of, Journey is a really fun game to speedrun. Been following Darren playing this game pretty much since he started, but this is the first time I've ever been able to like see the whole run. The music usually lulls me to sleep about like half an hour ago, so this is kind of awesome.
And I'm Bunch of Coconuts. I'm Puck Java's wife, and I tend to watch Darren do this run while I'm at work because the music is good background noise.
Thank you all. So yes, this is showing you spring blocks, which they shoot you up into the air. As you can see, if you just walk on them, they will also shoot you up in the air, which can be problematic at times if there's spikes above you. And then they also change color. They go clockwise around the color wheel, and that will be used shortly in order to let lasers pass through them and activate the switches.
So is that bounce automatic, or do you have to jump with the right timing, like in Ori?
The bounce is automatic. I don't have to do anything to bounce, and it doesn't. Even if you did get the right timing, you wouldn't get a higher jump at all. So here we can just bounce on the blocks all the way over, so you can see just how they work. So here, this is the first one where it introduces putting the colors the same in order to make the laser go through. The quickest color would be red, but if you do red, you block out the laser. So you have to go to orange instead on that room. And here we have lasers in the blocks, and so you come over here and grab the block, and then you just have to pull both of them over to finish out the room. This room, there's only light blue works. You have to make all of the spring blocks light blue in order to get the lasers to complete the switches. But you don't necessarily find that out until you get up here, because there's a unchangeable block that is light blue there. So any other color, you'll get this far, and then you'll go, oh, well, now I have to go back and change it again to make it work for the rest of the room. And here again, you use the spring blocks in order to change the color of the lasers that are connected to them. Green is the quickest color in this room because the center one is already green, and so you can just change the other two. If you try to do pink, which is what the side two are, then the platform underneath you here disappears and you can't get across because of the laser. This room, there are some people who could do it all in one go, just straight run through and change colors here. Now typically you would be using the top sections to change the colors of the lasers, but it's a whole lot quicker just to do this. You can actually die 2 or 3 times and still save time in this room. That skip is hard to do, as you can see. You have to get just between the 2 lasers there. So this is where it's definitely useful. It's still quicker at this point to be going through, and if I can get it this time, I should save time over doing the room the original way. Great. Oh, that was just a little bit behind. I'll try it one more time, and then I'll do the room the intended way, and then you can see just how much time you're saving if I have to do it that way.
Now, does this game have an autosave so that we can, like, if you're practicing the run, you can pick it up from this room?
This game does not have an autosave within it. There is, I'm gonna do it the intended way, but there is a cheat engine that was built for it by Modicius, who's one of the runners. And so you can use that to load any level in the room or in the game, which is very helpful for practicing. Need to be orange. There we go. It's been a long time since I've done this room the intended way, but we should still be pretty good to do it. So as you can see, this is how it's intended to finish the room. It does, if you can get it, especially on the first try through, you save a lot of time, because now you have to go through all of the colors. Here you need it light blue in order to get out. Then if we go this way, we don't have to change the colors, but now I can just run through the lasers on the bottom. And I can change the orange, and those first two are gone. And then light blue here. So, but this is one of the rooms that can take a long time to figure out as you're first going through it. But yeah, if you can get just between the two lasers, if you can get the timing down, there's a few frames where you can switch from one to the other one and make it through safely. So, and now we're at the university. And this guy tells you about the slime that's coming down, which you can see here. So what it does is it changes the color of the blocks that you put underneath it. So now you not
Being
only
back
have to
at the
worry about
university
making
has
them
surfaced
disappear, but
many
changing
memories
the color.
here. I remember taking you to lectures. You would crawl to the front of the hall when I wasn't paying attention. Dr. Gray would look down from his lectern, and all his seriousness and authority would wash away. He would pick you up, walk over, and return you to my arms with a smile. Love cannot be measured, Hugh. Like colour, it exists inside of us. I buried it. I buried the love that I had for my own ends. I hope after all this, you will see my mistakes for what they are. Yours lovingly, Mum.
In that last room, on the last set of stairs where there was a globe, you could see that I slowed down just a little bit because I didn't jump over the top of the stairs. There's maybe a pixel or two difference that just slows you down. So if you jump there, you can actually save just a tiny bit of time. This room is very confusing the first time through, because you have to remember to shut off that switch in order to block out the laser from the right. So, and here you're just a matter of changing the colors in order to get everything lined up and be able to avoid the lasers as you go and still have the block to jump off from. If there's any donations, this would be a decent time to read it. If not, that's okay too.
I have 2 donations I can read.
Okay, go ahead.
I have a $10 donation from the original Xbox. He left no comment. Thank you for the donation. We also have a $50 anonymous donation. He wrote some of this in French, and I don't know what it says, but he has some in English that says, "Hello, Midwinter SpeedFest. Here is a small gift to support you and what you do. Have a good time together and have fun on the other side of the Atlantic. I look at you and I already know anonymous donation.
Yeah, thank you very much, both to the anonymous donator and to the original Xbox for that donation. This is where I talked about with the 2 lasers in a row. So this is, once again, one of the tougher timings. I will try to get it here.
Whoa.
That one I didn't jump quite quick enough. We'll try it one more time, and then I can do it with just a single laser. It takes a little bit more time. Actually, we'll just do the single laser at this point. So I can pull this block over to block one of those lasers. But it takes just a little bit longer. It's still faster than doing the room the intended way. That one I thought I jumped too quick, but that worked. Here you'll see the rounding jump again at the end of this room. There's a globe that you get to jump over. So if you stop it there, and then when it gets to the 3rd step from the bottom, I want to jump the other way and turn around mid-jump to get over it, so you can get just a little bit of extra height on your jump by turning around, which is just enough to get over that globe. Otherwise, it would chase you all the way down. You'd have to change colors as you go, and then you have to try and avoid the lasers on the way back up again so you don't get killed. This room, the left and right spring block, you may have seen it, but when you change to yellow, for some reason the colorblind indicator is backwards. It's really the only spot that I've seen that throughout the whole game. It's just one of those odd little quirks that you may or may not pick up throughout your playthrough, but I've played it many times, and so it's just an interesting thing to see.
Does each color have its own pitch too?
What's that?
As you bounce on those blocks, they give a different pitch. So are those unique to each color?
I believe they are. Yeah, actually, we should hear it in just a second here. There was another spring block at the top of this room. I want to be pink here. That one, you need to use that block to jam the one. Yep, so they do all have different pitches. That's a good point. I guess I've never really paid attention to that. But you use this block to jam the balloon block that comes down in order to block the laser. The first time that I did this room, I didn't realize that, and so I had to get the timing between the blocks going down and back up and jump at just the right moment, which is a pain. This one is probably one of the most frustrating rooms to learn. You need to get this block over and have it be orange. So you can do it by using the switch to the left and stopping those, going back and forth, but you'll lose a lot of time if you do it that way. Instead, if you can stay and keep it orange while going across, you save quite a bit of time. And then now we need to go back around, and we'll wait for them to line up so I can go through the lasers on the top, because there's no way that you could skip through the multiple lasers like that. It's been tried. I died a lot of times. This is another room where the wall skip can save a lot of time, because you can just catch the wall on that right side underneath that 3rd thwomp. And if you do it correctly, then you get to skip this whole section here. Because we'll have to bring the yellow block down, and then we have to change those back to their original color. But even in the world record run, when Zan got it, he admitted that he probably spent more time trying to get the wall jump than what it would have taken to finish the room this way. So there's still kind of an unknown quantity of how you get them to work exactly. Now in here, there is a secret door there There's beakers spread throughout the game. There's 28 of them. But they're not necessarily to complete the game. They're just collectibles. There is a 100% run, where you would go back and you would collect all of them, but there's a lot of backtracking to it, so it's not highly run category, but there's several runs where people complete the game and collect all of the different beakers along the way. This one I'm gonna have to kill myself because I didn't get that first block on the on this switch to open up that door. So I had it right next to it, but I tried to go just a little bit too quickly. There we go. So now we go over here. We need to get the red block from the top left because we need that, the one that's yellow currently, to be red, so that it will disappear at the same time as the blocks on top, which would stop you from getting the key to unlock the door. It's really unfortunate if you forget to get the key in this room because you lose a lot of time backtracking. It's, I think, happened to pretty much anyone who's ever run this game consistently, is you'll get all the way through the room, get to the bottom, and go, oh shoot, I forgot to go back and get the key. And then you have to do everything in reverse again. But here you pull the block over. I know the first time that I did it, I was messing around with trying to get, the thwomps to disappear and the lasers, but all you have to do is pull that block over and get it all the way over, and it'll block the laser for you on the bottom there. This room is interesting. The globes will change colors as they go through the slime, so you just have to be aware of what you're doing, or what colors you're changing to. This is the final actual room of the game. There's a couple minutes left, but it combines quite a few of the other things you've learned and has some of the tightest timing in the game. So this is another one where the wall skips can be useful, but again, you can lose time. I don't understand them enough to use them at this point. Here you pull the block over, switch to pink, and then now if you do it right, you can push that block over, avoid getting killed by the pink thwomp, and so you have to use that thwomp on the left to block the lasers here, because the blue block will disappear. It's definitely one of the hardest rooms to talk while you're going through, because there's a lot going on.
Right.
I didn't want to go back through that door. So, now at this point, you're just playing out the rest of the story. So we are just about done.
Too long.
It's about 2.5 minutes left.
So much.
I still
Your
didn't get
mother.
any of the story. Did you guys figure
I
out
tried to
I
warn her.
missed?
I thought that exiling her from the university would protect her, would protect you. She did not understand that some people choose not to see. I never stole the ring from her, Hugh. I tried to destroy it, before it destroyed her. I now know she had it under control. She knew what she was doing. My intervention shattered the ring, altering your mother's very fabric. My only reprieve is that you were able to follow in her footsteps, to experience her work firsthand. We do not see things as they are, Hugh. Instead, we see them as we are. Your mother, she has been waiting for you. I expect she will be thrilled to see how far you've come.
So there you go. There you found your mother. Basically what happened, she was researching color. She had a ring, which is what you put together, which allowed her to see the different colors. And then it broke, and she was stuck somewhere in between colors, so you couldn't see her. And the color pieces got spread throughout the world, so you had to go and put it all together, work your way through the university, which is probably the scariest university I've ever seen. And then, so you had to find your mother and learn a little bit along the way. So now it started as a dream, and then it ends as a dream. So along the way, you've been kind of watched over by Dr. Gray, which you don't find out until the end there when he takes off his robe, or the hood that was hiding who he was. And here we'll get the final letter and go to the final sequence. Time stops when I lose movement,
Yes.
and I'll let you know.
You cannot always control what happens to you, but you can choose how you see it. Now you can see true colour. You must decide if it is for better or worse.
And there's
I
time.
hope after all this, it is for the better.
Cool.
Your final time was 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 30 seconds.
Okay, excellent. That's about 6 minutes off my personal best. The world record is at about 53 minutes for that category. As I say, it's a fun game to run. The community is great. There's 10 or 12 runners in Warpless, any percent. There's several more in any percent. Yeah, people this winter there were several newer runners going into the game, and so new things were found, and times were dropped quite a bit. But yeah, definitely check it out. There's a Discord on speedrun.com. A lot of people spread throughout the world to run it, so any time of the day you may be able to find somebody or talk to somebody if you have questions. So thank you to Midwest Speedfest for the opportunity to show it off.
All right, thank you for that run. Next up, we have Hod running Star Wars Rogue Squadron. Stay tuned for that.